Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this webinar organized by CRAFT and SNV in Uganda in commemoration of the International Women's Day theme on innovation and technological change for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. For those of you who are not familiar with CRAFT and SNV, please allow me to briefly introduce them. CRAFT is an SNV initiative aimed at increasing the availability and accessibility of climate resilient food in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Through its Climate Innovation and Investment Facility, CRAFT has since inception onboarded over 56 agribusiness SMEs and cooperatives, and this has contributed to gender service delivery for enhanced production, productivity, and technological uptake that is time and labor efficient. As a brief overview for our webinar today, we have lined up amazing presenters and panelists from diverse backgrounds that will be sharing their insights and experiences in leveraging digital technologies to break down barriers for women in agriculture. I have a few ground rules for our online audience and presenters. We encourage the online participants to actively contribute to this discussion in the comment sections on the CRAFT pages on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. For our speakers, panelists, and presenters, I kindly request that you keep time. Bashil Kasekende, an accomplished agriculture economist with over 20 years of work experience in agricultural development programs, will be giving us the opening remarks. In his current position, Bashil serves as the SNV Agri-Food Sector Lead and the CRAFT Project Manager for Uganda. Over to you, Bashil.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I know we have representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture, representatives from the different ministries of Uganda, the donor community, development partners, the private sector partners that work with, the farmers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an opportunity for us to meet here. I'm representing the country director, who is Ms. Pomolo Mafosa. Ms. Pomolo Mafosa is away on leave, so I'm the acting country director, and I will be presenting on her behalf. So I will take this opportunity to read her statement by baptism, and I'm glad to be part of this discussion, which is very important and a key contribution to the emancipation of women in the agri-food sector. It is an honor for me to officiate this webinar that is recognizing not only the contribution of women in agriculture, but also a platform to share and interact with the different partners on how digitalization is helpful in transforming food systems for women who constitute a large percentage of the global agricultural labor force. This year's International Women's Day, Digital All Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, prompts us to explore the importance of digitalization in bridging the gender gap and addressing widening economic and social inequalities. In Uganda, 70% of females are engaged in agriculture as opposed to 58% of the males. According to the National Housing Survey, which was conducted in 2017, it actually indicates that much as there are other sectors where we have people participating, but you can able to realize that 70% of women are actually in farming, which underscores the importance of this discussion. Many of these women have less information than men about financial products and services because of lower literacy rates in some categories. In addition, women in rural communities spend most of their time doing household chores, gardens, planting, weeding, mulching, keeping small livestock, to mention but a few. This restricts the amount of time they can spend on platforms in community gatherings, digital platforms, for them to be able to get more access to information that is desired for them to be more productive. Women may also face biases from lending institutions due to lack of collateral or security needed for them to be able to access the finance that they need to invest in agriculture. These gaps put women in a more disadvantaged position with limited opportunity to access real-time data on soil, weather information, irrigation, crop insurance, pest diseases, to mention but a few. According to the Uganda Communications Commission, data clearly indicates that the uptake of digital gadgets is actually moving up. By the end of 2021, around June, the total number of connected smartphones were standing at 9.7 million Ugandans, while those that have access to feature phones were about 22.4 million. Now, this one shows that there's actually an increasing trend in terms of adoption to communication gadgets, which include also digital platforms. According to the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, who is called Hugh Donkey, digital transformation opens an important opportunity for accelerating women and youth business opportunities across agri-food sector to take concrete steps to ending poverty and hunger. At SNV, in an effort to break digitalization bottlenecks, we are working with the strategic partners under different projects to enable easy access to digital tools and technologies for women and agriculture, in agriculture to increase their productivity and improve livelihoods amidst climate-related risks. For example, when you look at climate-resilient agribusiness for tomorrow, which is CRAFT, which works in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, we are partnering with a partner called EPROD Solutions, an information technology company that is working with agribusinesses who help them to help them manage their supply chain in terms of managing collections, agricultural inputs, and also sending extension messages, accessing credit, managing climate smart agriculture trainings, to mention but a few. In the Inclusive Dairy Enterprise Projects, which is based in southwestern Uganda, SNV is working with Emata, which is also a digital platform, to increase access to information, also access to loan facilities, which are basically collateral free, an Innovations Against Poverty project, which is also managed by SNV, implemented across the country. We are working with a digital platform called ChapChap. This digital platform provides an opportunity for the bottom of pyramid population to be able to access services, access information, and also be able to get trainings that they desire for them to improve their production. Now, when you look at all of these interventions that we're trying to do, all of them are geared towards exposing opportunities to women, the young people, and the general populace out there to improve their production efficiencies. As we conclude the celebration of Women's Day and also Women's Month, let us commit and support women in agriculture by advocating for increased digitalization, promoting gender-sensitive policies, and also investing in programs that uplift women farmers. Together, we can create a more equitable and sustainable future for all, as this is the impact that matters. With these few remarks, allow me on behalf of the Country Director of SNV to declare this webinar open. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Bashil, for those wonderful opening remarks. Bashil has pointed to very important factors, including the barriers that deter women from adopting digital technologies. He has talked about the high literacy levels, issues to do with unpaid care and domestic work, and of course, the negative cultural and social norms. But he has also mentioned that digital technologies offer an opportunity to accelerate women's involvement in agriculture and access to information services and finances. I believe our keynote speaker, Agnes Kirabo, will touch more on this. Agnes is the Executive Director of Food Rights Alliance in Uganda. She's also an accomplished agri-food policy analyst with over 16 years of work experience in advancing legal and practice reform that promote and protect people's right to adequate food. Agnes, over to you for the keynote address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that humbling introduction. Good morning. I doubt if there is anyone in an evening, but if in case there is one, good evening. And allow me to salute all the women in the world, but above all, the women on this webinar. Congratulations for having marked the start of celebrating the woman in the whole year. From the date of 7th of March, I have been in several places telling people that International Women's Day that is celebrated on 8th March is not the start and the end in the entire year of talking about the issues of women and how to better the livelihoods and the environment for women, for everything, flora and fauna, human and unhuman. So it was just a start, and I wish to congratulate all the women on this call. But in the same breath, also allow me to salute all the men. I'm physically seated with the acting country director. To all the women with us on this call, all the men with us on this call, bravo, and thank you, and please keep it up, keep the light and the candle burning, and light up the world, light up as many men and women, and bring them along this crusade of making the lives and the livelihoods of the women better. Now, my background is so much in food and agriculture, and I wish to thank the entire establishment of SNV for identifying me as one of those women that can say something to make a contribution of really bettering the lives and the livelihoods of the women, but which means bettering the lives and the livelihoods of everybody in the world. As we speak today and as we celebrate Women's Day, I wish to remind people that the global population is about 8 billion. It hit 8 billion people last year. That means those are 8 billion mouths to be fed. And of that, I think Africa alone is accounting for about close to 2 billion people. And of course, as Uganda, we take a share of that of about 45 million people. We are talking about mouths to be fed, and not only to be fed, but to be fed on healthy, nutritious, and safe diets all the time. We are not talking about something that is done once a day or once a week. It's not an event. It is something that at minimum, we expect an adult to have 3 of such meals a day, and the frequency differs depending on the age, especially among children. So in Africa alone, we are talking about 250 million people that are dependent on family farms, and these are mainly women. The country director in her speech has clearly elaborated on the numbers and the labor that the women are offering in the agri-food system, especially the labor in the production of food and the labor to feed the people, but also feed the livestock. So this is the kind of people that we are talking about. We are talking about a woman, a mother. We are talking about a woman, a farmer. We are talking about the woman, the caretaker. We are talking about a woman, above all, who is a laborer in this agri-food system. So I want us to tie in the issue of population, the issue to feed this population, but also the issue of our agri-food system. As we speak now, the woman can easily be condemned because around 811 million people globally never had a meal yesterday. And the numbers are growing when we come to Africa. And in Uganda, to be particular, we are talking about over 10 million people that slept hungry. And we are also talking about an agri-food system whose fragility was really revealed by COVID-19. And this is the food system, the women that are shouldering. A food system that is so fragile both in urban but also in the rural. A food system that is responsible for providing employment and in this time incomes for over 60% of the total population. I was looking at statistics and it is confirming that over 70% of Africa's population looks at this agri-food system to derive a livelihood. So this is the environment in which women are operating, offering a service that is central to human nature. If we are going to continue to be called human beings, this is the context in which the women are working to really make us live, give us a smile, and live a healthy life, in any case, if they can afford. And is this an environment that we really think is very conducive before even we close to talk about digital technology or to talk about technology? Is it a conducive environment? Are we sure that the women, even as the situation are going to be able to continue feeding us, or they are feeding us by circumstance because they do not have an alternative or elsewhere to go? We know the challenges, and the country director has alluded to some of these barriers. Before we even go into technology, the social norms that think the woman anyway is supposed to keep around the home, which is okay, but working and using resources that she doesn't own. Some of you that are from Africa, and let us do a small reflection of how we grew up in our contemporary African traditional society, when they are allowing the young your peer, the brother, to really go out of the home, go beyond the farm, is the one who is introduced to any form of technology that is being introduced in a household, even if it is an ox plow. The first people to touch it are the boys. And the girls, our technology that is given to us, we are exposed to, is a knife and perhaps a pestle and a mortar. Okay, even the axe goes to the boys. And those social norms that thought that we have limits in terms of capacity to use technology. Maybe it is because in the African traditional society, again, technology was labor intensive. And people thought that with our soft bodies and weak muscles, maybe we cannot handle. But it became a norm that limited us, even the exposure to these technologies, even including the minimum land that we are supposed to till and feed the people. It is until now, when we have gotten reforms in the land governance, to say at least let our names be included as co-owners, but not actually the absolute owners. Statistics tells us that women, for instance, in Uganda, only own 16% of the 20% of the registered land. You go to the land registry, well, the land registration in Uganda is still very minimal, but even when you go deeper into it, the land that is in the hands of the women is really, the proportion is very small. Talk about other production resources. Seed and other inputs is part of technology, but it is also part of the inputs. The women have not had an opportunity to go off the farm to have access to this kind of information where it is being offered. Now, let me talk about technology. I'm happy about the theme to talk about technology, but I think we need to talk about technology for women in the context of the entire access to technology in Africa. We do not want people to look at technology. If we start piecemealing it, then somebody gets a thinking that we are well. Do you know what we have gone through to have this webinar on? Those that have been behind the scenes can tell you. But I believe there are actually so many people that are out there that saw the advert and would have loved to connect, and they cannot connect. I'm playing that my voice doesn't stammer when it's not me who is stammering because of the connectivity. So the entire side of our world, for instance, in Africa, we are still living in that very big gap of the digital divide. We are living in Uganda. Uganda is one of the countries with the most expensive internet. The most expensive internet in the world that I have experienced. So you're paying through the nose, but at the same time, you're not going to be connected and your data is going to be cut off. Even when you're at the heart of the capital here in Kampala, you're going to experience that. Let it rain like it rained yesterday afternoon, everybody is cut off. So this is what we are in as a country. Technology is coming late our way as a continent. Now, imagine in such a situation when there is this particular kind of person called a woman who always comes late in any advancement that comes on the table. Many of them, I work with the communities sometimes, and today we are under conditions to give facilitation to every participant using mobile number. And the women register numbers. But when you mention that their facilitation is going to come through mobile money, you see them quietly coming to you to inform you the number they registered is not their number. It is written in some other person's names, either the husband, the child in the city, a relative in the city, or they inherited the number. And you ask them why they do not have their own number. They say, we do not have a national ID. because the registration for the national ID to be able to register your phone number required you to go a distance. It required you to have certain information that the women do not have. And so many of them are living in our country without the basic national identification number. Even those that have been able to get the national identification number, the facilities to register your number are away. You need to incur a cost, and the woman cannot. So this is the environment where we are expecting that now we can give e-extension. This financial year, the Ministry of Agriculture overemphasized the delivery of extension services using digital platforms. I'm telling you, the women are getting secondary information. The basic they have is like a small phone called Katoch. It has a small touch on it. It is button. It is wrapped with a rubber band. It is too old, for heaven's sake. That is what they have. So if we are talking about them having access to e-extension, they are already locked out. That is basic. If we are talking about them, previously there was a program by Ministry of Agriculture helping farmers through their phone to validate the input they have bought, whether it has that CHU mark. Who was doing that? The women could minimally do that. One, because of the technology in their hands, but also two, I don't know what it is called, the phobia for technology. Every time as a girl, as you're growing up, you're not allowed to touch technology. And I'm telling you, it is prevalent even of women of my class. You say, for my phone, instead of it getting faulty, let me limit myself to calling and receiving calls. So they could not validate that CHU mark on the seeds or the inputs, a very good initiative. They could not have ability to do that. Markets have gone We are talking about e-commerce. We are talking about a trader, somebody, a buyer that is offering optimum price somewhere to reach out to a producer. I have told you the kind of phone the woman is holding as we speak now down in the farm. It cannot do that. So all these barriers that start by infrastructure, the moment the entire environment, the entire infrastructure is not conducive for everyone, then the vulnerable people like the women are even more vulnerable in this. You're safer not going that way. So I know we have time limits. These barriers are actually explicit and everybody has been talking about them. But I'm here to say that number one, we need to transform our societies. We need to start giving access to technology, opportunity to break and to dismantle and organize to both the younger girls and the young boys as they are growing up in the homes. Don't give the plastic dolls easy to manage to the girls and you're giving the toys, the mechanically crafted toys to the boys, because we need to work on that phobia in our mind of handling and managing technology and giving us the confidence to manage technology. We need to tell the women that actually, and the men, that actually technology now in the agri-food system is becoming less labor intensive, less masculine, that the women also can sit behind the laptop and press a few buttons and things happen. Let's graduate and take these computers closer to the communities. We all know our first day when we held a computer, what happened to us. So imagine in the rural areas. Let's make technology and gadgets and these equipments day life of everybody in the house, both boys and girls. When I told people that my close to 70-year-old mother can attend a Zoom meeting in the village, everyone, both men and women, were telling me, Agnes, you're spoiling the old woman. They are not expecting her to be on technology. And now she can easily talk to her vet doctor on WhatsApp. If she has data and she cannot call, she can't do that. And I know what we went through to convince her that she can. So please introduce these women in the daily life to these gadgets, allow them to spoil and mend and organize better. The other thing that I needed to talk about is that women have heard about the potential, and we should stop talking about the potential. We all know that technology and access to technology is an opportunity. So we should stop talking about as something that has potential to better the lives. We should make it practical. We should delete the word potential in our narrative when we are talking about digitalization and access to technology. I want to conclude by telling you this. The women do not only have the ability, they have the capacity. Within the physiological makeup of a woman, we work with 6 senses. We have only been denied the opportunity. So if we think that we can feed the world, if you have entrusted the women with your lives, you have entrusted the women with your food system, let us make it easier for the women to produce the food and keep it safe and make it available. The beneficiary is me and you. For every single opportunity given to a woman, you have given it to a community. That is why there is that proverbial saying, educate a woman and you educate a nation. I'm here to reiterate the same. Give technology, give that opportunity to the woman. You have given it to the entire community. You have given it to the entire nation. The opportunity lies in me and you having access to safe, healthy, and nutritious diets. The second thing that I need to conclude with, and finally, is that it is unfortunate that as we celebrate the Women's Day in 2023, we are having very weak platforms for women in agri-food systems. The voice of women in agri-food system is bundled together within other voices and other platforms. I wish to invite everybody here on this webinar, be the champion if you've heard my voice. Be the champion, we mobilize that distinct, unique, important voice of a woman in agri-food system. That is the only way we are going to design specific context, specific interventions and approaches that are going to speak to the unique challenges and break the unique barriers for women in agri-food system. Just give that opportunity to the women, keep quiet, and everything will be well for me and you. What is given for the woman is not good for her, it is good for everybody, living and non-living. I wish you great, great, great endeavors until we meet in March, reporting on what we have done for women. A world free from hunger is possible. For God and my country, I salute you, everybody.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Agnes, for that wonderful, insightful keynote address. Agnes has raised very important actions that we can take on moving forward. One, she has recommended for state and non-state actors and for everyone who is listening into this webinar to work towards building the capacity of women so they are in position to manage and adopt digital technologies. Two, she has called on key decision makers to improve accessibility to affordable technologies for women at farm level, post-harvest handling level, and at the different nodes of the value chain. And lastly, what stood out for me, she has encouraged all of us to be a champion, to be a voice for women's uptake of technology in agri-foods systems. Agnes deserves a hand of applause. So wherever you are, kindly send her some flowers. Next on our agenda is our presenters. I want to take this opportunity to introduce them. They will be speaking to us and showcasing the different ways that can be used, that digitalization can be used to achieve gender equality in agri-food systems. Our dear presenters, I kindly request that you all turn on your cameras, and as I am introducing you, you kindly wave at the audience so that they know who they are emitting and interacting with. Our first presenter will be Fatuma Namutosi. She is the Managing Director for Biafe Foods, a craft agribusiness partner in soybean value chain in Uganda. In her presentation, Fatuma will share how Biafe has enabled access to finance, market, extension, services to female farmers through the use of digital technologies. Another one of our presenters is Stephen Aikiriza. He is the dairy advisor for one of SNV Uganda's projects called TIDE, the Inclusive Dairy Enterprise. Stephen will be talking to us about digital technologies, leveraging digital technologies in the dairy sector to break down barriers for women. Lastly, we shall hear from Lysandra Iduso. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at ChapChap Africa. Sandra will enlighten us about how we can use digital platforms to enable access to finance for women working in innovations against poverty. So over to you, Fatuma. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and thank you for the previous presenters for the wonderful contributions towards the urge to improve service delivery amongst our women, most especially in the agriculture sector. I would like to start by sharing a story of what BFA has actually done differently that has some of the innovations we have done that we think have helped or are contributing towards improving the status quo. Imagine Beatrice Nabalayo is one of the BFA farmers, and it takes Beatrice Nabalayo about 20 kilometers to reach BFA offices. Imagine her having to walk that long distance. Also imagine her having to leave the family. And remember, she's the same person who takes care of all the domestic work at home to come and purchase either input or acquire weather information or buy seed or acquire any other extension service. So this is very, very difficult for her. And one of the innovations that we've undertaken as BFA through CRAFT project was developing an extension app, a system that links BFA directly with the farmer, that farmers are able to receive the extension services by just a click on their phone. Our business model is in a way that we have the agents and then we have the farmers. So we are trying to link the farmers direct to the system so that they are able to order, buy, purchase, get market information right on their phones. However, it is during the life of these farmers way before us installing in the system is, first of all, have to walk long distances, and two, they have to balance between their gender roles and accessing agricultural information. The distance they have to walk to access the offices to sell or purchase in farm input. So this system, we have a network of about 10 bulking centers in each sub-county. Now, these ones are directly linked to the system. In case the season is starting, like right now, the bulking centers through the system are able to acquire the information such as what raw materials are BFA buying, and where are the farmers buying the input in terms of seed or any fertilizer. So the information is received first by the agent, and it's straight away connected to the farmer to ensure the farmer receives the information timely without having to walk long distances. Through our extension support also, we offer the trainings. Some of them are not even allowed to attend these trainings because the men are either feeling insecure or they are thinking, in quotes, what are the women going to do anyway? So the women are disconnected on that also. They are affected. So you'll have more men attending to these trainings compared to the women. So this app enables the farmers at least receive basic information that is required for them to access, to start planning, or to improve production of the different raw materials that they supply to BFA. Then also we are seeing a lot of, some of the experiences we have seen in the field also is these women, either some of them have their children who are working in the foreign countries. We all know the issue of labor export. Now, the only way this rural last mile woman is able to communicate to her daughter or son, who is the other side of the world, is through the smartphone. So we are seeing them recognize or appreciate the need for a smartphone now more than before. But the challenges also come in. Walk to any rural community, rural area within your home area. Just walk in any rural area. If you'll find a phone, if you'll find a shop that is selling a smartphone, it's impossible. So when you go to these villages, the smartphones are termed as the phones of the town people. So, which exactly makes it very hard for farmers to adopt very quick. But through the systems put forward, through the system that we put forward, the farmer are slowly adopting to getting information through mobile. So they don't have to walk long distances. They are able to access information on time. They are able to communicate, but there are still challenges in terms of making this really work for the farmer, because we would want the system to as well have a USSD code, where, for example, a farmer from their garden on their cartouch, by the way, it's also a technology, on their cartouch, a small phone, they are able to just click a code on their phone, and either they are ordering or they are communicating a farm challenge, or it's a pest that has affected the crop, or the crop has matured and they are communicating harvest. One of the interesting thing about the app that we installed also is, for example, on the side of prices, this last mile woman is the last to know the price. And you know, when information moves from multiple people to the last mile woman, she won't get the right information about the price that BFA is giving. But through the system, they are able to even receive the messages on their phones. So the messages are communicating what is the current price and what's the quality of the raw material they are supposed to use. But we also appreciate that we still need concerted effort, collected voices to have the farmers actually adapt, because we see there is opportunity, but there are still barriers that are making it difficult for most, especially the women, to adapt to adapt to digital migration. But we've seen that it works. We've seen that the farmers are eager. We've also seen that it also increases efficiency. As private sector actors, it reduces operational costs in terms of delivering the extension service, because at some point, instead of having to physically reach the field, you have communication delivered straight to the farmer, other than having a team go on ground. And some of the things we are adding in the system also is having these messages interpreted in the local language, because currently we send messages well, but in English. So we are combining efforts with the local government extension system to have the messages translated in the local language, so that this local woman, this rural last mile woman, is able to receive a message in Luma server talking about getting the current information, maybe it's price, maybe it's best, maybe it's input. So those are some of the innovations that we've embarked on. It is still too early, but even when it's still in initial stages, we are able to see the benefits this comes with. Like said, it benefits both the business and also benefits the farmers in terms of efficiency, in terms of them continuing to undertake their domestic roles while they are still delivering in the what? They are still delivering. So I would like to end this presentation calling upon all actors to come together. Let's make internet accessible. Let's make it available. Let's make the funds accessible. Financial contribution or access to low interest credit can also enable farmers adapt to the new technology. I thank you all, and I wish us wonderful presentations. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Fatuma, for that elaborate presentation and example you have shown us on how BIAFE is easing access to finance, market, and extension services through the use of technologies. Stephen, the mic is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, the previous presenter and all colleagues. I think here where I am, I'm in the land of milk and honey. I am in the southwestern Uganda at the production end. And if you follow very well the agricultural statistics, is that the dairy sector growth now in Uganda is closing to 10%, higher than the aggregated agricultural sector growth. And last year, in 2022, the export for dairy products alone was closer to $100 million. And so when we talk about the digitalization in agriculture, it starts with dairy. Because dairy, if you heard very well, now in terms of export, we are only second to South Africa in Uganda, in Africa. And we are very excited to embrace the digitalization in agriculture targeting women. I have a presentation that is going to complement my discussion, and I am sure you are able to read my slide here. I am at the SNV, the Inclusive Dairy Enterprise. We are approaching our development in partnership with government to promote agricultural sector transformation from looking at agriculture, particularly dairy, as the way of life, to transit it to commercial, looking at cattle keeping as a business. And in that end, we look at the value chain. We are targeting the value chain from production to the table. We call it grass to glass. And where is the role of the woman in that perspective? Where are the women active, and what are they doing in terms of agriculture? it is very exciting when you reach the production level and find how much the woman is contributing in terms of management of production. You will appreciate that the internet and computer have put the operations that were massacred in very high comparison to female participation. At the production level, we have the farm advisory services using the computer. We have electronized and digitized the farm advisory tools called the dairy farm benchmarking tools. We are using the dairy competence builder as coaching tools. We are using the dairy training modules. We have loaded all the PowerPoints for the presenters to start using the standard modules and localized in a context where we are. We are also using computer now to do the feed ration for cows. Previously and culturally, you would want the man to advise a fellow man on the farm, and the traditional farmers underlooking the support by women in terms of farm dairy advisory. Now with the computer, there are ladies seated behind their laptops advising the farmers competently enough, making sure that the feed rations for cows, especially those who have just calved down, is not the same food for cows that are not producing milk. And the farmers take it in good faith that yes, women behind the computers can make rations for the cows. We have also seen that farming as a business requires cost models for feed, margins above feed cost. These are done by computers and on internet, and women are heading that. Milking machines. Previously, men are known to milk cows, but now, with the technology and digitization, we have installed, with the support of the Dutch private companies and other companies, milking machines on farms. And these ladies press buttons, and once they press buttons, she's able to milk 30 cows in a record less than 1 hour. We have the quick response barcodes, the QR codes that women are using to access data, to access training materials, to access market information, the weather forecasts from the meteorological authorities. The most interesting bit on the level of production is that farmers are being coached by ladies behind the computers on toll-free call centers. They don't know that they don't see the persons. Otherwise, they would say, "Who is this small lady or young lady?" But behind the computers, it is knowledge speaking, and we are very excited that the mobile smartphones in dairy farming and the internet are driving the production agenda. So our young people in extension at the cooperative level are empowered with feed scanners. Imagine the mobile infrared spectroscopy analysis of feed outside the laboratory. They have Android tablets. They have laptops. They have soil scanners. They have ad measure apps for land mapping. They have plant identifiers. All these things are possible because of digitalization. At the level of the cooperatives where milk is being aggregated, the ladies...
Stephen, apologies for the interruption. You only have 3 minutes remaining, so I kindly request you summarize and conclude.
Thank you very much, Sandra. So at the dairy value chain of the milk aggregation, we find ladies managing thousands of farmers on computers because they are able to aggregate data, they are able to purchase milk, they are able to pay farmers, they are able to do periodical reports, they do milk testing. Already, as you heard the acting ED talking about the e-matter, the access to finance by circles and banks, the digital weighing and recording, the data aggregation, and the teleconference with field teams, multitudes of extension, 50 extension officers being addressed remotely with the help of computers and internet and all the accessories. And we have the milk bulking. At the milk bulking, the cooperatives here have instituted smart the CCTV cameras for video surveillance for ease of monitoring. You realize that previously the cleaning of milk tankers and road tankers was manual, and men could take the privilege of entering these coolers and clean. Now, with what we call cleaning in place, women are pressing buttons to clean huge tankers and milk road tankers and coolers. And so you find that doing work becomes easy and competitive and enjoyable. With internet, now we are saying the young people and the young women can competitively access these services and earn equal respect and amounts. We are saying with internet and computer, dairy farming and dairy business should be sexy for the young people. And there is no doubt the young women like what they are doing. Similarly, the young men are joining agriculture. And for sustainability, we think it is the digital end that is going to make dairy farming and dairy business prosper. On that note, I thank you very much for listening, and I wish you good luck in the digitalization era targeting dairy production and dairy value chains. Thank you.
Thank you to Stephen for sharing with us how the SNV Tide project is leveraging digital technologies to break down barriers for women in the dairy sector.
Thank you.
Stephen has talked about platforms like e-conferencing to improve women's access to extension services. He has shared about how Tide is using information management systems to improve women's access to markets, to information, to data, and many other things. He has also shared about how they are improving as a project the uptake of machines that help women balance between work and life, achieve work-life balance. So thank you so much, Stephen. It was indeed good hearing from you. Lysandra, the mic is yours. Please talk to us about Chap Chap Africa.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for passing the mic. I'd like to thank SNV and Craft for facilitating this wonderful webinar. It's been very informational so far. I've been enjoying it. I'd like to say thanks to also our keynote speaker, Madame Agnes Chirabo, and my fellow presenters. Especially, I was so interested in Fatuma's presentation because I can see some synergy between Fatuma's app and Chap Chap. And just a moment, I'll be showing you a presentation about Chap Chap. I hope I can just share my screen. Please give me a moment. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, 1 second, please. Okay, I hope my screen is shared. Can everyone see the screen?
Sandra, unfortunately, I don't know. We cannot see your screen. Now it is
Oh,
visible. It is visible
oh,
now.
it's visible now.
Yes. So probably
Oh,
you need to magnify it a little more.
oh,
You
okay.
need
So
to
when you're
enter
seeing that,
presentation mode.
okay.
Yes. Yes, you can now start to
You
help
can
us
see it in
manage time.
presentation
Yes.
mode.
We can see it now. You can proceed because time is
Okay,
of the
thank you.
essence. Yes. Mm.
Okay, thank you. Right, so let me tell you all about ChapChap. ChapChap is a solution. It's a fintech solution, digital solution that has been around since 2016. And we're solving a problem that more than 57% of the population of Africa have, and that is access to traditional banking services. Most people don't have that, and we heard that as a thread going through a lot of presentations. So our solution is an app, a mobile app, and this is basically how it looks when you download it and open it on your screen. And this app, we avail these services to MSMEs. So we concentrate mainly on micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's the small corner shop, the mama mboga on the street side. Those are our typical clientele, and they can access the app for only $12, which is a very affordable amount of money. And we've created a huge agent network with the MSMEs, and they serve the last mile customer who is an ordinary person who does not typically have access to mobile money or other services like that. So ChapChap is an app, as I said before. You can download it from the Google Play Store. It requires you to have data to use it, and it requires the user to have a little bit of experience with the internet to access it. We believe that our solution, ChapChap, is very affordable, because if you are a business owner, or in your case, if you are a farmer and you want to add revenue streams to your existing business through mobile money, and we believe that every small business in Uganda should have a mobile money arm. It's only realistic because of the way the economy and finance as a whole across the world is going into digital solutions and digital cash, really. It's only realistic that every small business should have a mobile money arm. So if you look at it like that, as someone who wants to start a mobile money business, then you will see how affordable it is, because it is only $12, which is about 50,000 shillings. But if you wanted to buy, let's say, an Airtel and an MTN SIM card to start your mobile money business, the telecoms no longer sell the SIM cards. So we avail these two to you in one at 50, but you'll probably end up buying each at 200,000 from someone who is offloading their business. In addition to just the mobile money, we give bill payment services, which is typically the array of services that you would find on Payway, which is another cost and hardware, which would be about 540,000 shillings. So when you add up the 400,000 and the 540,000, you're almost at $1 million, where our solution, that is an all-in-one, comes in at 50,000 shillings. We do have competition in the market, but we look at ourselves as the best offer because we require very little and give a wide range of services, not just one. Now, when it comes to financial inclusion, I'd say that over the years, we have already, because this is an app that's been going since 2016, we have already given out loans, microcredit loans of $10 million. And you look at each household, we have already given out $1.4 million in household income. Our agency might be wondering, okay, they downloaded the Chap app. What does this really mean? Our agents earn commission on every transaction they do. So you can imagine someone in a village shop and they have the mobile money service. You go there and use the service, and every time they transact, they get a commission from that. The company, us, we take 70%, we take 30%, and the MSME gets 70% of that commission. So we are now, our 27,000 agent network are 89% made out of youth and 47% women right now. So practically, we have a service on the app. It's called Collect Tech, and this is how it can affect your farmers groups or your products and services that you want to sell. And when I heard my fellow presenter talking about BFA Foods, I thought, wow, this is great. This is a great.
Lysandra, we cannot hear you very clearly. Can you try and?
Okay, how about now? Is this better?
Yes, it is better now.
Oh. Okay. Sorry about that. I was saying we have a service on the app called Collect Tech, and when I heard my colleague talking about BFA Foods, I saw a great synergy here, because if we're just to onboard BFA Foods, like to get an API of BFA Foods and have it as a service on the Chap platform, we could now offer these services to the agent through the agent network to more farmers. So you look at the 27,000 people that we already have on the ground. The farmers groups can access through those 27,000 even more farmers. The services could be taken wider than it already is. So that is one of the ways that we can really help to proliferate financial inclusion to the last mile man with Chap app. So not only are we increasing the revenue streams of an existing business, but we can extend a service further, an existing service further than it is going right now. So these are some of the small ways in which we can be a part of growing women and making more women included in the financial equation that's happening here in Uganda right now. I hope you can still hear me. Hello?
Yes, we can, Sandra, and you have 2 minutes remaining to conclude your presentation.
Well, thank you. I listened to our keynote speaker, Madame Chirabu, and one of the things that she said that made a big, that touched me, was that women have tech phobia. And yes, it's true. And I'm glad that through apps like BFA Foods and also Chap, we're seeing more women, especially the young women, embrace technology through a simple hardware like a smartphone. I know still we have a lot of women using the feature phones, which is the ones with the buttons. But as our solutions penetrate deeper into the villages, I know that a smartphone will become a normal property for any family, just as a radio or a TV have become right now. So this is good. Even the gentleman who has the dairy solution, I was glad to hear that his agents are using tabs and they're using laptops and they're getting more digital with their way of delivering their services. So at least this brings some hope, to a country that has only 28% of people using the internet. Only 28% of the population using the internet now. So hopefully we'll see more and more. We'll see this number increasing over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Lysandra, for sharing that Chap Africa story with us. Now it's time to hear from our remarkable panel. It consists of Imelda Kanzoba. She is the Principal Agriculture Officer for the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries here in Uganda. We shall also get to hear from Felicity, an agribusiness and gender expert in value chain. Meno Kaiser, who is the Craft Multi-Country Project Manager and Project Manager for Tanzania, for Craft in Tanzania. And Birungi, a value chain development expert at FAO Uganda. I kindly request all our panelists to turn on their cameras so the audience emits and interacts with them ably. Our first question goes to Imelda. You have 3 minutes, Imelda, to give us your response. What are some of the challenges you think women face in accessing digital technologies? And how, in your opinion, can these be overcome?
Thank you, Sandra. I hope you're hearing me clearly. As already introduced, I am Imelda, working with the Ministry of Agriculture and Vendors and Fisheries. I would think women still face challenges in the digitalization issue, because the farmers we deal with down there, most of this, the Chap and my colleague Fatuma who presented, they were saying how women are involved. But you find that even the small phones that they have, when you call, the phone is answered by the man. And the woman says, "Oh, you see my phone, he went with it." So you find that they're not always abreast with everything that is going on. They receive second-hand information from their partners, their husbands, who usually sometimes use their phones, in most times, because you will say sometimes they don't have power at home, they can't access it. So they go to the trading center, they take it for charging. He goes in the morning, he comes back in the evening. You find that even when you call them for some sensitization trainings, as women in agriculture, you know, they are the our food security officers on ground for the household, as Madame Agnes said. You know, Madame Agnes said, articulated the issues very well. Almost said what I would have said. When he goes, you invite them for those sensitization trainings, say maybe the digitalizations and so on. They are not even allowed to come and attend those meetings due to the other gender roles that they play in their households. The man will say, "Oh, I will tell you what they will tell me," and then second-hand information. But in most cases, they even don't pass over the information to the female who need it most, because they are our food producers. So because the population they talk about, the 70% now currently are employed in agriculture, you may find over 50% are women, but they don't usually access information as they are supposed to, because they on production, on marketing, on new varieties that have come up, the different inputs that they need to use, they rarely get that information. Yes, we are trying. There's a lot of effort is being made, like Madame Agnes mentioned. We have been trying to help them access inputs using the digital to see those codes. But as I told you, the phones sometimes are not with them, so they have to send men to go and pick them. The good thing it was you would pay on the phone, but otherwise they would have even used the money for other things, because they cannot go there themselves because of other gender roles that they play. I think there's a lot that needs to be done. This was only given 3 minutes. A lot that needs to be done because, for example, I'll say we are saying this digitalization in agriculture for the women. I would even give it up here in the Ministry of Agriculture. When you look at the women in agriculture, we are still very few up the educated, trained agriculturalists. We are not as many compared to the men. So you find that it comes from down, up, then goes down, and then also down. The way we encourage the farmers, trying to sensitize, telling them that, you see, agriculture is key and it can be a good, clean job for all of us, not only the women, but also the men, but also that they can do a lot than digging. in agriculture. The value chain, along the value chain, it's a really big value chain from production to the end user where they can be employed. My colleague just talked about how they are accessing funds through the Chap Chap. I see that as an issue because they don't have usually collateral to give in the banks, sometimes to get money, maybe for those small loans. I missed some of what she was saying because of her internet. It was not as stable, but I don't know whether she mentioned it. I hope I'm not repeating myself. But collateral has also been an issue for the women to access loans because, like, some of the banks that give agricultural loans would ask for collateral, and you see the land rights, as Madam Agnes articulated. The women, very few women have the land that they can easily give in as collateral in their own names. Even co-owning is not easy. Even as you are a co-owner, as in on the title, the man will not give you the powers of attorney to really use it as collateral in the bank. They feel it's so risky, and they don't even feel you should use their property. So that's also a very serious issue for the women, and let alone most of what the women are doing in agriculture is mostly part of the food security part, as in they are responsible for food security for their households. So whatever they do is mostly consumed at home, with a few, just a little for marketing. And even the marketing, as I told you, they don't usually access the information, the market information. So you find that they sell the produce, their produce are very low price because of the other needs that come up for them, to maybe paying school fees and so on. But even when they send the men to go and sell the produce, they actually don't get the money because the man may not even come back that day. And if he comes back, he will tell you, I've used it for another thing. So they don't really. So there's a lot of empowerment and sensitization that needs to be done as a way forward, so that the women are brought on board. Smartphones are not as everywhere because most of our women, they are rural farmers, and you find that even charging the phones is a problem because you not if you send a message, I would say for Fatuma and the Chap Chap lady who has just presented, if you send a message, say in the morning, but the phone, the touch phone, the button phone has no battery, she will access the information late in the evening sometimes, if she gets time to go off and pick it from where she took it for charging. So there are a lot of things that need to be put into play before we can say that we are there. It's a good start. We are all starting. I am impressed by what Fatuma and Chap Chap are doing, and we hope our women will be really helped coming up to see what goes on, to be accessing the information on new varieties that they should plant, versus chemicals, which chemicals to use, and even the extension information. Because we're also advocating for the weather data, weather information to be sent to the extension workers so that they can also pass it over to farmers. You know, extension workers are not as many. The ratio of farmers to extension workers is really big. So they need the digital information to tell them this week it's going to rain, this week it won't rain, maybe you can be able to harvest and dry your produce. So all that is very key. We are trying it agro-weather information and giving advisories at the same time. But this is still at a small scale, as we said, but with time, I think we shall be there. Thank you. I hope I've answered what exactly you wanted me to do. Thank
Yes, you have, Imelda. Thank you. Over to you, Rosemita. Can you share with us, in your experience, some of the benefits that accrue for women when the agri-food sector is digitalized? What has your experience been like?
Okay. Thank you very much. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Yeah, digitization to begin with is a very, very important aspect because one fundamental thing is that it helps on the reducing the cost of transaction. And then, so for me, that is the bottom line. Once the cost of transaction is reduced as a key component in commercialization, I come from the perspective of commercialization, where we foster women to make money and improve their livelihood. So for me, it is the game changer for cost of transaction. So looking at that, when I look at the value chain, just like Imelda has just explained, and also Agnes, that the value chain from input, for instance, once the cost of transaction, not the production, but transaction, in the input access is dealt with. And that's where you have, for instance, in the rural areas, you'll find a woman wants to buy a kilo of maize. Even myself, by the way, recently I experienced it. I wanted to, I do digging somewhere like 15 kilometers away from my home. So to get the seeds, I had to, 7,000 shillings, I had to incur about 10,000 because I needed to get somebody to get a boda, take the seeds to the garden. So at the end of the day, with the digitization of input access, you find that I didn't need a boda. I don't need like a houseboy to send to the market. I just need direct to go onto my phone, and I see the input supplier, like the Chap, like the likes of the Famnella and all that kind of models. And then I choose a supplier. And then I give all the information and say, deliver at GPS location X. And then I pay through mobile money. So the cost of transaction is heavily dealt with when the system is digitized in input supply. In post-harvest, this is where women lose a lot, because, and also this is where domestic violence happens, because the commodity transforms from being a cashless commodity to a cash value commodity. So what you are seeing as raw beans in the market, now they become beans that have commercial value. And this is where I was doing my study on the pig value chain. And so as the pig transfer, with due respect to the other religion, as it transforms into money, the man wakes up and says, you did it on my land, you did it, you grew it, you fed it on my water, you fed it with my domestic labor, so I sell the pig and own the money. So the ownership of the commodity transforms at the point where the commodity transforms into money. So with digitization, this can be dealt with, because I can know that my animal is ready for commercialization. Then I go onto my network, I link with the buyer, I post the photo, I post the charge, and we agree. So negotiation, all these value chain activities of looking for a buyer, negotiating, all these are minimized and are occluded. Very important. They are occluded, because what causes domestic violence for women is when men have a lot of information about our commercial transactions. So with digitization, these are occluded, and I am able to make a quick decision, because like if I interact with a buyer, my husband will think that I'm going out with a buyer. So all those stereotypes with digitization are dealt with, and you have less domestic violence. When it comes to the end of the value chain where there is consumption, this is something also very, very interesting from my experience, especially the research work that I've been doing on value chains in agriculture. At the end, you take an example. This is where now you are seeing, for instance, women are engaging a lot in roadside food vending because they are looking for money. So when they get the money, and their money of the so-called Sente Yechichala goes into the pocket of the woman through the digital instrument, the man will not come in the house and find money, and so the violence will not happen. So with the rural, even us, it's not about rural, but for the women all across, digitization helps, protects us. Actually, it's a protection mechanism for women. So we are protected, the transaction costs are reduced, we have the protection, we have security for our income. And very importantly, I was reflecting on the FAO.
Rose, kindly conclude.
Yes, finally, yeah. I was reflecting on the Digital Village instrument that FAO is doing. So the Digital Village instrument that FAO is doing has a number of pillars. But I think what is very interesting is that for each pillar, it gives an opportunity for women to be integrated into the digital system. So with that, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Felicity, can you speak to how digitalization in your experience increases efficiency and productivity for women participating or engaged in agricultural value chains?
Thank you, Sandra.
In 3 minutes.
Yes, please. Sandra, thank you, and all the panelists, presenters that have already talked. We are looking at the rural women, but also the other women in agriculture. Yes, we can say digitalization has improved production and productivity. I've been listening to the previous speakers, Stephen, Fatuma, and Lisandro, Rosamira, but I want to challenge these people that how many of these women are already using this digital, phones or laptops and all that. Yes, it's something that is very beneficial to the women down there because first of all, it goes directly to increase in production and productivity of our crops, but also it translates into money for the farmers or the female entrepreneurs that are doing farming as a business. But do they benefit directly on that? So when we are promoting digitalization, we need to go back down there. Yes, the woman is accessing this platform or the phone. The money is being paid, but does she has control over the use of this money? Just recently, we did a gender trajectory for the Innovation Against Poverty, SNV project, and we realized one of the businesses was doing digital payments and procurement, which is also one of the benefits that the rural women can enjoy. But the problem is, as the keynote speaker has already said, most of these phones are registered in their spouse's name or in somebody else's name, and the money goes directly, possibly she's using the man's phone, the money goes directly to the man, and for you, and you don't know that this money has been paid, and the woman keeps following up, yet the man has already used. So one key thing that we can do there is to see how we can engage both the male and female to benefit more responsibly and inclusively from the benefit of digitalization. We have also looked at access to information. Imelda talked about the extension ratio to the farmer ratio, which is almost 1 to 1,000 in Uganda. So how best can we receive this? Yes, women have this information through the digital aspect, but are they translated to their needs? Have we put this into the language that they can understand? So this is one aspect that, yes, the women can benefit, but we really need to see how best we can tailor-made it to address the needs of the women. Another thing is awareness. Yes, the women are aware of the benefit of the use of digital devices, but do they know the benefit? So these benefits should be clearly told to them. So gender, from the gender perspective, this should not just go to the woman, it should go to the community because of the gender norms and biases that we have. It should go to the household where the spouse should also understand how it will benefit the household. So with this, you realize that yes, they will embrace and it will holistically benefit the men and women, because most times we get the statistics, but they are basically statistics, but we don't know if it is addressing the need of that last mile woman in the household. Somebody has already talked about even bringing GBV, because most times, especially for smartphones, if you are a lady, and most of these hubs is supported by smartphones, if a lady owns that, it's already a problem. So how best can we create awareness for all these people to benefit from this? There's also need to see that.
In conclusion,
yes,
please.
Yes, in conclusion, we realize that, yeah, we are doing a lot as an organization, but first we need to have ourselves being gender aware of what is there, and our chain context or the policy maker need to see how best they can spread or reduce on taxes on these digital devices. How can we spread the internet access to people in the rural places so that we can say inclusively or conclusively that everybody is getting this benefit from the digitalization that we are promoting. And for us, it starts from us, the women on this platform and out there, that we need to wear our gender lens to first identify the need of this woman and then tailor-made our interventions that will benefit them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Felicity? Now the turn goes to Menno, the only gentleman on the panel. Menno, briefly share with us how CRAFT and other like-minded initiatives have been able to enhance women's participation in agri-food systems through digitalization. Over to you, Menno.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. So I only have 3 minutes to answer this question.
Since you're the only gentleman, we'll give you 5.
No. I don't want to be privileged. No, thanks a lot. Actually, I already feel privileged to be on this panel with 3 powerful women who are very passionate about their job. And of course, I also want to appreciate all the women in Uganda and Tanzania, where I'm actually currently living. All the hard work they are doing, bringing food on the table, ensuring that children are able to go to school well fed. So very much appreciated to all of you. I know it's a struggle. Yeah, I think the question is very broad, Sandra. So let me focus a little bit on the work CRAFT has been doing in Kenya and Tanzania, since we heard already from Fatuma talking about her company, which is also supported by CRAFT. So let me focus on 2 initiatives, one in Kenya, one in Tanzania. So let me start about explaining one of the companies we are supporting in Dar es Salaam. It's a potato company, and they're basically buying a Ware potato in Southern Highlands, shipping it to Dar es Salaam, and then doing the whole distribution to around 6,000 clients. So then you may ask the question, okay, what is really the benefit to women? Why is it benefiting women? Okay, how is it a digital solution? So what they actually did was to digitalize the ordering system of the wholesalers and the retailers in Dar es Salaam itself. So normally the women and men and youth would go to the wholesale market at around 4 o'clock in the morning to ensure they can actually select the right potato varieties and the right quality. So what this company did, East Africa Fruits, is simply setting up a digital ordering system, and they do actually door-to-door delivery. So a retailer, a client can simply place an order the day before, and they actually get their potatoes 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock on their doorstep, which actually frees 2 to 3 hours from a woman's time. She can now either spend with her family or maybe sleep 1 hour longer, depending what she wants. So that really improved, I would say, the business of these women, especially the retailers and wholesalers. It also reduced them going to the wholesale market at 4 o'clock in the morning, which can also maybe be a dangerous situation, going there early. So another example I want to give is about Kenya. And what I've been hearing also in this webinar is about generic solutions. And what we actually try to do in Kenya is working with Cargo to come up with a tailored solution for a farmer in a particular village. So through GPS locations, we know where this farmer is living, the crops being grown in that particular location. We link it to tailored weather information, and then actually we can give more tailored support to a farmer and provide crop management advice linked to, for example, sorghum or potato or whatever crop that particular person is growing, and also following the growing season. So it's not a simple and generic message. It's really, it's now 3 weeks after planting. Please apply a top dressing of this particular amount of fertilizers. And the next thing we are doing actually is to link it to soil testing. So we upload also the soil status of that particular farmer, so we can also make the support more tailored to that particular person. And I think that's really where we should take the discussion to. So more detailed, focused advice to farmers, and not simply saying, okay, you are a sorghum farmer and this is the advice. So I really see a future for that, and hopefully, yeah, with data, we are able to do that. What I really liked was about Steven's presentation. He really had a lot of tips of how in the dairy sector in Uganda we are really using digital information and digital solutions, not only for men, but especially for women and young people. So I think that already gave quite some good examples of solutions. If you allow me, Sandra, one more minute, because I want to link it a bit to Agnes. And I really agree with her. Data is very expensive in Uganda, also here in Tanzania. The registration of a SIM card is an issue. You need to have a NIDA registration. So I think we also need to be aware of that. And I haven't heard people talking about how we can actually bypass that and how can we actually support women in the village in registering their SIM card. And I think she really was able to identify this huge issue. If that cannot be changed, if that cannot be addressed, then we can talk for hours, but then we still are not able to address that issue, I would say. So Agnes, thanks for bringing that up, and I've taken note of that, and I hope the previous speakers as well. I think, Sandra, I leave it up to her for now. Over to you.
Thank you, Menno, for bringing a regional perspective to this conversation by sharing examples from Kenya and Tanzania. Menno's response and remarks marks the end of this e-dialogue. Our great appreciation goes to CRAFT and SNV in Uganda for organizing this highly informative conversation. We also recognize the keynote speaker, presenter, and panelists for their insightful contributions. Of course, our online participants, your engagement, your participation cannot go without being acknowledged as well. While the webinar is coming to an end, action to leverage digital technologies to break barriers for women in agriculture begins now. CRAFT will document the outcomes of this conversation and share them at an opportune time. We thank you everyone for participating and engaging. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.